you for coming. We're going to start off now with the debate. I'm Zach Corbett. I'm the Chief Justice of SGA, and I'll be kind of mediating the event. As a general rule for the entire event, we'd like to keep all answers from the candidates to around 90 to 120 seconds. They should be prepared to give reasonably succinct answers to all the questions. We have 11 candidates here running for e-board positions, and we want to be able to hear from all of them, so we just ask that they're mindful and respectful of about 2-minute cap on their speaking time. And with that, we want to start off with an opening address from President Mullen.
Thanks, Zach. And I promise you this will not be a real address, because the most important thing tonight is that you hear from our colleague candidates. But I wanted to stop by very quickly and say a thank you, a series of thank yous. The first thank you is to student government, Zach, others, for putting this together and making it possible and having this kind of debate and discussion take place. Second, I want to thank our candidates. It really is a statement, I think, when young people say, I care enough about my institution, I care enough about my friends, I care enough about public service that I will step forward and place myself in front of my colleague students as a candidate for office. That really matters. And whatever happens in the election, I think every one of us at Hartwick should be proud of these individuals for stepping up and saying, I care enough to run for office. So I think we should all give them a round of applause. And I want to thank each and every one of you at a busy time in the semester that you've come out to hear the candidates, to hear their views, to hear their perspectives, to hear the case that they make. That really is a statement in and of itself. So I want to thank each and every one of you, everyone who's watching on YouTube. But most of all, I conclude by saying public service matters. Our country doesn't work if young people don't engage the process and run for office. And many of you have heard me say that again and again, and I could not be prouder as president of Hartwick or as a citizen than of these individuals who have said they care enough about this place to run for office, to lead. Student government matters here. And I want to thank you, and I look forward to working with those who are elected and those who do not achieve election. I look forward to your leadership continuing on campus as well. So go Hawks and have a great night.
Thank you, President Mullen. We're going to start off with introductions from the candidates. Just sort of name, major, school year, just general, quick introduction from yourself. And we'll start down on the end with Oyram.
Hello, my name is Oyram Duenas-Valles. My majors include business administration, economics, political science, criminal justice with a legal studies minor. My year is currently 2026. That's pretty much it.
Hi everyone, my name is Maria Serra. I'm a junior here in Hartwick and a double major in accounting and business administration with double minor in psychology and economics. I am right now the chair of a club committee and the head of the dining committee too, and I also treasurer of a different clubs.
Hello everyone, my name is Ana Sanchez. I am a business major with a double minor in economics and digital marketing.
Hello everybody, my name is Rebecca. I am a double major in nursing and Spanish with a minor in healthcare administration. I am also the current VP of clubs for SGA. I am the president of Latinos Unidos Association. I am the event coordinator for a CTC, and I'm also a global ambassador. I also work with a lot of different departments on campus, including the Belonging Center as well.
Hello everyone, my name is Amelia Williams. I am a double major in psychology and political science with a minor in gender studies. I am the Executive Vice President of SGA currently. Before that, I served as the Vice President of Communications as well as a Senator. I'm the President and founder of Or Caribbean Students Association. I work in the Belonging Center as a DIBA. I'm also an intern for the Hartwick Institute of Public Service, the Secretary for Hartwick Law, and I'm involved in a bunch of different departments on campus.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jefferson Cruz. I am majoring in political science and philosophy with a minor in legal studies. I think it died out. Oh, and currently I am the president of Kappa Sigma.
Good evening, everyone. I'd just like to start off first by saying thank you for showing your initiative tonight to attend this debate and offering your personal support for every candidate at this table. My name is Gavin Phillips. I'm a criminal justice major along with double minoring in forensic science and psychology, and I'm looking forward to the future of the Student Government Association.
Hi everyone, my name's Hannah McCooch. I'm a double major in business and chemistry on a pre-med track. I'm currently a member of the honors program and the 3-year degree program, and currently sit as the VP of Communications for Student Government, the Vice President of Tri Beta, and I'm super excited to be here tonight.
Hi guys, I'm Harmony. I am a first-year biochemistry student with a minor in psychology, and I'm running for Secretary of SGA.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Montembura. I am president and founder of the Hawkins Dance Team. I am president of African Student Association, and I'm currently an RA. I also am chair of the finance committee here on campus.
Hi everyone, I'm James. I am currently a junior going to be a senior next year. I'm also currently the Vice President of Finance for SGA, as well as the President of Computer Science, Esports, and Public Relations for our Asian Culture Club here, and Vice President for our Latinos Unidos. I'm also a student worker at our IT department. So you guys see me every now and then if you ever have any computer issues. But yeah, I'm happy all of you guys are here today, and yeah.
Thank you, everyone. And now to our first question to everybody, a general question for every position. What inspired you to run for the position you're running for? And if you're running opposed, contested, what sets you apart from the other candidates running for that same position? And we can start down there. The first 3 at the end of the table are running unopposed, and then as we move this way, there's contested elections.
My inspiration for running for this position, which is VP of Belonging, is my experience with Latinos Unidos Association as the PR and being a part of the Global Education Department as a global ambassador. We've been able to help bring a lot of community and facilitate this belonging for students here on campus, making sure that everything is going well, and I want to continue to build that strong community here so that students know that they have somewhere to go to.
What inspired me to run for VP of Clubs? It's my deep involvement with the campus clubs over the last few years. From managing budgets like a treasurer and to planning events, I have been on the ground dealing with both challenge and the winnings of our clubs. My goal is to create a more transparent and supportive system that encourages collaboration and provides clear resources and ensure every club has equal voices.
What inspired me to run for VP of Communications is the belief that strong communication is what keeps a campus connected. Being involved in different organizations here at Hartwick, like the Student Government Association, Delta Sci-Fi, and Latinos Unidos, I've seen how important it is for students to know what's going on and feel like their voices matter and actually want to engage in campus life. I've had the chance to work on social media and promotional materials for different clubs, and through that I've developed a real passion for communicating and not just putting information out there, but making it clear, creative, and also relevant to students. I want to take what I've learned, the knowledge that I have, and apply it on a bigger scale through the position of VP of Communications to help the student government reach more people, get more feedback, and also better represent our community. And even though I'm running unopposed, I still take this role very seriously, and I'm not here just to fill a spot, but I'm here to bring new ideas, also improve how we share information, and make sure communication is clear between students and their representatives, and making it feel accessible and also consistent. And I'm excited to take on this position and use it to create a more connected and informed student body.
Okay, so what inspired me to run for the executive vice president is that I have now been the VP of clubs for 2 years in a row, and before that, I was a senator. So I understand how important it is for students and administration to be working together, and I feel that through an executive vice president position, that would be possible. I also wanted to shift my focus from just being on the clubs to being the entire student body. I want to ensure that students' voices are being heard in many different ways, and I want to ensure that every student here at Hartwick feels that their voice matters and that their voice can make a difference. And I really want to ensure that students here at Hartwick don't feel like their concerns get brushed under the rug or just moved over. I think that through conversation, action can happen, and it doesn't have to be just one talk. It could be something that creates actions after that. And what sets me apart is my experience. I, like I said, was a senator previously, and then I was the VP of clubs for the past 2 years, and I have learned a lot through that time. I've learned the ins and outs of SGA, and I've seen how important it is that students and the administration work together. Right now, I feel like there is a gap, and I feel as executive vice president, I would be able to facilitate that gap and allow students' concerns to be brought up to administration and action to happen behind that. And I want to continuously advocate for students on this campus. I feel like we all have worries, we all have concerns, we all have things that we want to change, and I feel like me being the executive vice president, I could take those concerns, I could take those things that you guys want to change, and we could see action happen behind that.
So why I decided to run, like I said before, I've been in student government for the entirety of my collegiate career. Through these roles, I've seen firsthand the impact that we can make when we collaborate with purpose and unity. I'm very passionate about uplifting the diverse voices on our campus. These voices are often overlooked, and I think that I'm someone who has bring light to these voices, and I deeply believe in the power of mobilization and mobilizing the student body to drive meaningful change. And I think what sets me apart is not only my involvement in Hartwick, but my involvement across campus in multiple organizations. I have a strong relationship with Orr College's administration, and I'm an active member in several different organizations on our campus, which has helped me to stay connected to the student experience beyond just SGA. I think that my time in SGA has also given me a clear understanding of what we can accomplish when we lead with intention and we're proactive about the change we want to see on campus.
What inspired me to run for president of Student Government Association is that I've identified various challenges that our campus faces, and I believe little initiative has been taken to resolve them. That being said, what I believe sets me apart from the other candidates is that I am familiar with advocating for groups. I was a moot court semi-finalist last semester, and I've done various internships with lawyers, including this past J-term with the local attorney in Oneonta. I believe I am the person to advocate and gain everyone's opinion to do so. I have not previously held various positions or any on SGA, but I can assure you that if I had held them, there would already have been a change.
My inspiration to run for executive vice president derives from my personal vendetta of being a leader in any situation I am placed in. My passion to make changes started in high school as I spent much time developing ideas and opportunities for senior events along with other special school trips directly with the principal of the school along with faculty advisors. Transitioning to my attendance at Hartwick College, becoming involved with the football team, Greek life, and developing new relationships with many students and faculty members around campus came easy to me due to my positive outlook on life and my abilities to adapt to any situation I place myself in, which is exactly what I plan on doing for the Student Government Association. Currently, I am the vice president of the Kappa Sigma fraternity working alongside our president, Jefferson Cruz, and the image we create as a whole organization to represent our institution becomes a crucial component of mine. Through developing various connections through our organization's large-scale networking system across the country, through ensuring proper morals and accountability is met from every member, and developing relationships with local businesses of Oneonta for fundraising purposes, my time as vice president has helped me endure the qualities and necessities it takes to promote the success of our school at an executive board position level. Just like myself at one point, I've heard numerous people around campus explain to me that they do not know what SGA is, the people who are involved with SGA, and how they wish they knew more about what was going on around campus. What sets me apart from any other candidate for this position is the passion I have to ensure students do not feel left out, and if voted in, I ensure all of you these issues will be fixed. Thank you.
In my current position as Vice President of Communications for the SGA, I handle all secretarial duties, including taking the minutes for the Senate meetings and the e-board meetings, and contacting both internal and external contacts for SGA. My favorite secretarial duty includes sending out ZHD emails to the student body, and this is also what inspired my candidacy for this role. These emails, as you all receive quite frequently, inform students of events, opportunities, and act as an occasional check-in and reminder that someone is always rooting for you. I know college life can be stressful and hard, so with each ZHD email, I try to bring a small moment of joy, whether that's through a small joke, a thoughtful phrase, or a reminder that you got this. Being the first point of contact for the entire student body and someone who can offer anonymous support is what makes this role so meaningful to me and something I look forward to focusing on further in my role as secretary. The passion behind my communication, paired with my direct experience in every aspect of this role, set me apart from any candidate. For me, this SGA position is more than just an extracurricular, it's a purpose.
So I am running for Secretary of SGA because I want to make sure that every voice is heard. I believe that as Secretary, I can help facilitate communication between the student body and SGA and help advocate for everyone to ensure that they feel informed and empowered. What makes me stand out is that I can bring in new and diverse ideas and experiences. Basically, I have to balance my time with academics, on-campus jobs, clubs, and volunteer work. So I have to have good time management skills. I am actively involved both on and off campus. Currently, I am a senator of SGA. I am a Blue Key ambassador, so I work with the admissions office to help support prospective students by offering insight on things like academics and campus life. And that has allowed me to continue to grow in my leadership and communication skills. I am a peer note taker for the Accessibility Center here on campus, so I have to make sure that all my notes are clear and organized and ensure that they're all submitted by the end of each day, every day. And besides my experience of being a peer note taker on campus, I have also worked at my local hospital for over 3 years, completing secretarial and administrative tasks where I had to document patient information correctly, organize notes into the system, and clearly communicate with patients and medical staff.
Hi everyone, so I am running for the Vice President of Finance. What inspired me to run for the Vice President of Finance was being a senator on Finance Committee both my freshman and sophomore year of college. This really made me feel like this position would be the best thing for me. What sets me apart from my contender is the fact that I'm literally an accounting major. Not only do I have on-campus experience of handling large amounts of money, I also have off-campus experiences due to me being an accounting major. This past January, I worked for Grow America, which is a small profit business that does small business lending. This also allowed me to work with large sums of money that I handle with a lot of different places. Not only this, I'm very well involved on campus as well. So I will build an atmosphere that helps students feel personally connected to me and comfortable to ask me questions. And in addition to that, since I am part of the student body, students will actually know me. They wouldn't just know VP of Finance Sarah through emails. They will know her because she is a part of different areas and organizations on campus. Like for instance, I am an RA. I communicate and solve lots of different problem-solving skills, and I handle a lot of difficult conversations with students. Being VP of Finance, you have to handle lots of different conversations, handling money, financial skills, budgeting, and sometimes you have to handle lots of frustration. And through my experience becoming an RA, being a part of the VITA program, being a Blue Key ambassador, and just knowing the people as individuals, I believe I'll be the best candidate for the position. Thank you.
So throughout my entire Hartwick career, I've been a part of SGA. I've been a senator for 2 years, and I'm currently a vice president for finance here in SGA. I'm a double major in computer science and video game development. With the computer science part, it gives me the strong analytical background, which is a key factor on how to review all budgets and identifying all issues, especially handling and balancing all 40 plus clubs' needs and wants. I try to follow under SGA's policy while trying to negotiate and trying to find a way for clubs and organizations to get what they want so they could have events on campus and they could have the big events on campus that they want. Being a problem solver is the biggest thing of finance because you're gonna have every now and then students wanting something when it's probably not gonna be possible with the current financial gains that we have or the financial issues that we have. So I try to negotiate to a balance to the point where everyone wins and not one person wins on one side. So, yeah.
Thank you everyone for your answers. Now we'll go to the presidential candidates with a specific question on what are the biggest challenges facing our campus and how will you address them as president of student government?
So I think that some of the biggest challenges facing our campus is student mobilization, involvement, and overall our campus culture. I think that many students want to be engaged and involved on our campus but don't always feel welcomed or empowered to make that step, especially from underrepresented communities on our campus. I believe we need to shift our campus culture to one that actively supports and uplifts all voices, not just the loudest ones. I think that as president, I will work to create spaces where every student feels seen, heard, and valued. I'm committed to fostering a culture of inclusivity and belonging, as I've done and will continue to do, regardless of if I'm president or not. I'll lead with the mindset that true change happens when we bring everyone to the table, especially those who've been historically overlooked.
The challenges that our campus faces that I've identified are very significant. I'm going to begin with the residential dorm building challenges, which include heating issues, plumbing issues, and parking issues. These issues undermine the overall student experience in the residential dorm buildings, and they must be addressed in a timely and effective manner. Moving on to the next point, which is that our sports teams, which make up about a third of our student population, are in a critical need of funding to ensure their success and continued contribution to school spirit and pride. The football team, the women's lacrosse team, men's lacrosse team, men's swim team, and field hockey all need the following: locker room upgrades, general practice equipment, travel bags, team apparel, new uniforms, power racks, travel sweatsuits, and so on and so forth. These teams need updated facilities, equipment, and apparel to perform at their best and represent our campus at the highest levels. That said, one of the most noticeable and foundational challenges we face on campus is securing sufficient funding to support the needs of our students, organizations, and sports teams. As a potential SGA president, it will be my mission to work closely with the finance departments to gain a deeper understanding of how our budget is allocated. I will advocate for greater transparency in budgeting and ensure that students' voices are heard in these discussions and that the information is relayed back to our students. By bringing student opinion to the table, we can create a more efficient and effective budget that truly reflects the priorities and needs of our campus community.
Thank you to our presidential candidates. Now to the executive vice presidential candidates. The question of how will you ensure all student voices are heard, even those who disagree with you?
Ensuring all voices of the student body are heard and prioritized is a crucial component that must be addressed by the executive vice president. Focusing on recent months, January 9th was the date the first email was sent out to the student body from the Student Government Association. This email, which was sent during the time of J-term and heading into the spring semester, consisted of setting up a Google form in which the student body could input their availability times in order to set up weekly SGA meetings that would be more accessible to all students who are interested in attending. Since that date, there have been about 20 relevant emails that haven't pertained to the current events taking place now, such as the debate. Within these emails sent out to the student body and faculty members, a majority of the information consisted of basic meeting minutes along with funding being spent towards events that students typically had no interest in or opinions on, which resulted in low-level numbers. Repetitive events included carnivals and stack lounge, music, mental health events, and the WIC Olympics. While these events are inherently important and shall be considered for future, more events for students should be expanded upon and discussed as an executive board first and followed up with ways to relay the ideas for events to students in order to ensure a more energetic atmosphere, more involvement throughout campus, and an opportunity for more students to have their say. To ensure all student voices are heard, the main priority will be to ensure my name and position along with all executive board members are widely known throughout campus. Accessible meetings with myself will be available through office meetings, Zoom meetings, and tabling efforts in order to receive any input, questions, and concerns the student body may have. More organized and professional Senate meetings, along with meetings with President Mullen, will also be a top priority, as well as an opportunity for various guest speakers receiving the chance to visit our institution to provide intriguing information. Communication with students through the various methods stated is extremely important to promote a more proactive and healthy campus environment. If voted in, I assure you all that communication efforts will increase, availability for myself will be apparent, and major changes and innovations for all student organizations and campus members will be made. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for Executive Vice President.
Zach.
Oh, sorry.
I have to talk.
Sorry,
You're good. For me, what I want is I want to create spaces where people can feel like they could come and talk to us. I feel like oftentimes SGA is seen as this big e-board, but we really just want to hear what you guys have to say. And I feel like creating a space where students feel comfortable to come to you and bring concerns, things that are worrying them, might be good things, maybe bad things, but I want to create a space where students feel comfortable. They don't feel stressed out. They're not scared to ask us questions. I want to hear what you guys have to say. You guys are the students of Hartwick, and I feel like creating that space is very important. And when it comes to disagreements, I won't take them personally. I keep everything very professional. I believe that when we take disagreements and differing opinions, it could be a chance to grow. It could be a chance for me to learn something, for our board to learn something. It could be a moment for SGA to grow as a whole. I believe that offering opinions that I may not agree with can help us see a bigger picture of what the students on campus may want. The executive board may see it one way, and then the rest of the students may see it another way. So it's important, I feel like, to create the space where students can come and bring their concerns to us. And I feel as though that in SGA, as the executive vice president, I would be able to, through the different departments I am in right now, creating spaces where you guys can come and ask the questions to us and not feel like scared, and then we could bring it to action as well.
Thank you, candidates for Executive Vice President. Now to the candidates for Vice President of Finance. How would you ensure transparency in the funding process while maintaining fair relationships with all student organizations, especially when some clubs may not receive the full amount of funding that they request?
So communication-wise, whether it's like approving like large events or like telling a club they need to like revise their budget because it may not follow like under like the SGA policy, I want to make sure that it's like clearly explained and there is a path forward to get what they want. It's just we just have to negotiate on how to make that happen, and that's how I try to build trust within SGA and the clubs and organizations, and that's how I will try to continue to like make everything fair for the clubs and organizations. As for transparency, Finance Committee is open to anyone. They can show up to the finance meeting. It's always on the meeting minutes on when we're meeting. But I'll also offer office hours where students, faculty, club members, organizations could come to me to talk about what is something they want, where we have SMR funds where they could request something that they want to push forward to the campus, and then I will try to schedule that with the SGA e-board so we could talk about that in Senate meeting if there's a student that wants to talk about and push something. As for support, I've recently did training videos for all treasurers due to there's like not a peaceful transition for all e-board members for organization and clubs, misinformation, miscommunication with that. So I've created training videos to help with that. But as I mentioned, I'll also offer weekly office hours for anyone to join in if they have questions regarding finance. And transparency doesn't mean that clubs could get whatever they ask for. They can ask whatever they want, and I'll just be the yes man and say, yes, you could have that. It's meaning that why I made that decision and what we could do to like at least get to this decision, to get to like a balance point where they get what they want while also following under SGA policy. And this is how I could try to improve the transparency that clubs and organizations as well as students seem to have issues with, because my goal is trying to make it try to be transparent as possible so students know where the funding is going to and how it's being processed.
Okay, so as a treasurer, since I was treasurer of 3 clubs within the past 2 years, I understand the frustrations of creating budgets, submitting them, getting approved, and so much more. So the way I would improve the finance committee, firstly, is to have open meetings during an accessible time. I would opt to have meetings during a common hour because that's when I know most students are available, like maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 12:15, because I know most students would have access to this specific timing. Secondly, I would make the finance cheat sheet more digestible. When I first opened the cheat sheet, it was a lot to take in. It was a lot of words, and as a student, I don't know if like I had the energy or balance or anything to just go through all those words and truly understand what's going on. So maybe I'll make it more digestible by making fun videos. If you follow the Pure Health Educator account, and if you see any finance videos that are TikToks, it was most likely me who created them. Not only did that produce digestible information about health and wellness, but students are more likely to look at it, and then they're also going to absorb the information in a way that's more accessible to them. So I would transform our digestible cheat sheet into a more digestible thing for students. We're busy. Sometimes we don't have time to read a 20-page document and know all the things that are going on and what rules we need to follow. So I'd make it more digestible. And about transparency, sometimes students just want to know why. Sometimes students aren't frustrated about the fact that their budgets are denied, but most likely they just want to know why. We wanted to put this event, we need this amount of money to do it, why can't we do this? And I would actually answer their questions why. I'll be transparent about our funding, where it's going, why we need these additional resources. Like most students don't know that SGA pays for busing. Maybe that's why you can't have your extra $1,000 for your budget. So I would make it more clear of why and how we're spending our money. I just get this large sum of money, and all students know is they ask for $1,000 and it's denied or approved. So I'll give it more accessible information on where the money is going and maybe why we decided to make this very intentional decisions. And then secondly, I'll just meet students halfway. Sometimes there is a conversation that can be had. Sometimes there is a solution. But if there isn't a solution, I'm okay with handling these difficult conversations. If students want to meet and discuss their club budgets, I'd be very open and free to do this. And I'll most likely try to hold the meetings in person so we can truly have like a clear explanation of why things are happening. Basically, I'll just give students the answers that they want and the answers that they don't know they needed.
Thank you to the candidates for VP of Finance. Now on to Secretary. As the first secretary, how would you ensure transparent and effective communication between SGA and the student body while also establishing a system to manage and maintain accurate records for the future SGA members?
So as secretary, I would ensure transparent and effective communication by making sure that all the information is easy to read and accessible, and that my record keeping is organized by date and by topic and category. I would also send out emails to the entire student body by the end of the day after SGA meetings, which would detail everything that was talked about, from important announcements to upcoming events. And like I said before, what makes me stand out is that I can bring in new ideas. So for more accessibility and more transparency, I would also want to create a shared Google Drive folder of all the meeting minutes so that everyone can take a look back on the records, as well as put out anonymous surveys for student feedback so that they can freely express their ideas and concerns. And besides weekly updates, I would also send out monthly updates on all the current events that have happened, because I feel like it is important to just take a step back and reflect on past events and decisions as a whole, which can help us to improve SGA moving forward.
Being the first SGA secretary offers a unique opportunity to build the role completely from the ground up, and I'm excited to bring both creativity and structure to this position. I'm committed to making sure important information is shared with the student body clearly, respectfully, and with a good vibe, because communication works best when it feels genuine and approachable. As the main point of contact for the entire student body, I welcome responses to my emails, whether it's feedback, questions, or concerns. Student government should be and is a reflection of the student body, so I will make sure it's a priority to relay all input from students directly to the e-board and ensure we stay connected and responsive for every issue. When it comes to records, organization is second nature to me. I developed that skill through a wide range of secretarial positions, including those for clubs, and as I was employed as a secretary and social media manager for a multi-million-dollar contracting company in upstate New York. I plan to use the knowledge I learned in these experiences to build a categorized and easy-to-navigate system for storing all current and future SGA records. I also hope to recover and preserve historical records that date as far back as possible, including those we've already found from the early 2000s. This system will ensure that the current and future e-boards from here on out have a clear, accessible legacy and mission to build upon. Thank you.
Thank you to all the candidates for answering those questions. Now we're going to move into the audience section where audience members can ask questions. We just ask that questions from the audience are obviously respectful of all our candidates and mindful of the time that we have. Try to just make them short enough to be easily answered and just, again, being respectful. So if anybody wants to stand up to the microphone and ask anybody a question, any position, any candidate, feel free to do so. And they still have the normal 90 to 120 seconds to answer. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, Chelsea?
Hi, everyone. Oh, this is high. Okay, my question is, I think it's to the positions, the president positions. What are your main goals for SGA? If elected, what would you like to accomplish, and how would you accomplish it?
My goals for SGA is to make the organization way more transparent. As my running mate Gavin touched upon, there has been very few emails from SGA that have been sent since January 9th, nor do they hold much relevancy to what's actually going on campus. It's just about certain events and stuff. And so I would really like to start doing polls for the students so that they can contribute their opinion on what events are being held rather than make it catered to what SGA believes only.
My goal for student government is, my plan is currently in action right now as Executive Vice President. This past October, we went on a conference where we learned how we can transform our student government to be more inclusive. With that, we have decided to transform student government from just programming to being more of an advocative voice for students. So we have dropped our Vice President of Fund position to accommodate for these new positions that you see here today. I think that student government should be representative and a voice for the students. And while we do have traditionally important events that we host on campus to foster diversity and to ensure that the voices of those in our communities who are underrepresented are heard, I think that our main focus and our main goal should be widening our scope on engagement and getting students to be involved, getting students to be proactive in their involvement. I think that it's not enough to just be interested in something. You have to put change and action behind your words. And I will start with that mobilization. I will start with reaching out to these groups and making sure that they realize that they have a platform to start fostering change on our campus.
And if anybody else has questions, you can just ask them from your seat if you want to, or you can stand up to the mic.
This question goes to Jefferson. Sorry. This question goes to Jefferson. What are you planning to add to SGA, considering that all you've kind of talked about are the sports teams?
I plan to add a lot more that makes it inclusive, includes others' opinions, which currently it does not. We could see how unfairly other organizations right now benefit more than others. An example being the esports team. Everyone has seen that in Stack Lounge. Something else that I would like to add is a set of rules in which, or how we allocate money. It seems like we're unorganized. It seems like we're distributing it improperly, and I believe there should be a set of rules to make everything way more organized.
Can I answer this question?
If that answers it.
Can I answer this question? I know it's for Jefferson, but can I answer this question? I will start by saying, just as a blanket statement, that student government is responsible for clubs and organizations on campus. Student government is not responsible for sports teams. Or budget does not go to sports teams except for SAC. That is the only sports-related program that SGA and hidden opponent, sorry, Shelby, that SGA funds. We do not fund the sports teams. I'd also like to say that when it comes to I just wanted to put that blanket statement out there that SGA does not fund sports teams and has nothing to do with sports teams. I think that if you have questions or concerns about the funding of our sports teams, to go to administration and voice those concerns to them. Or you can come to SGA, we meet 6 p.m. in Golisano 103 and voice those concerns, and student government can bring those concerns to administration.
Again for Jefferson. Since you've never been to like an SGA meeting and I'm a senator there, a lot of the things you've been saying, as Amelia has brought up, are not only done by the e-board alone, but a lot of things are voted by the Senate, and some of those are those money allocations. They're not completely voted on by the e-board, so I'm concerned about your ability to lead the SGA without knowing some of the behind-the-scenes workings of it. How can you reassure people if you've never been to a meeting before and don't know the complete runnings of it?
So my first year here at Hartwick College, I actually did attend meetings. But to resolve your concern, I believe if it works like any other organization, once a new e-board takes over, there is a transition of e-board. Therefore, the previous person that held the position is supposed to let the new person in the position know how everything goes. And additionally, if this organization has it like every other organization, there are bylaws, and within the bylaws, they should state the rules in which and how they run those meetings, if that answers your question.
Just as another blanket statement, there are rules to how funding is distributed to clubs. So clubs, there is information sent out to clubs as to when budgets are due. When budgets are due, they get sent to our finance committee. The finance committee then reviews the budget, and the budget is then allocated based on the amount that the club requests. SJ does not just give out any type of amount that we think a club deserves. A club, which I'm sure all of you are a part of clubs and you have been involved, so you know that you submit a budget to student government. Our finance committee then reviews your budget based on the budget that you've submitted that you think that your club deserves and needs, and then the finance committee then reviews that and allocates the budget based on the funds that we currently have. I will say that some semesters, SJ is able to allocate more funds to clubs than we have in previous semesters. This semester, we have been more lenient when allocating funds due to the fact that we have access to more funds. In previous semesters, I'm not sure any of you know, but those of you who have been coming to SGA meetings and read our meeting minutes, you will know that we have had issue with debt that we have been having to pay back. And as a result, we've had to cut back on the amount of money that we have been allocating to clubs. Now, that does not mean that we have not been allocating any money at all to the clubs. We have been very accommodating with the amount that we have been allocating to clubs based on the budget that we have to work with. Along with that, this semester we have extra funds, and we have been using an SMR, which is a special monetary request, where clubs can come in, clubs, organizations, and departments on our campus can come in and request additional funds to their programming that they think that they need fit. And so far, SGA has approved all of the SMRs that have come forth. So it's not a lack of allocating the funds, or it's not SGA's just freely distributing the funds. There is a process that is in our Constitution, and our Constitution is available to everyone.
Adding on to like clubs and funds, as of last semester, a lot of like extra funds came rolled over to this semester because with the finance committee approving what the clubs and organization want, sometimes the club and organization don't use all the money they ask for, so that rolls over back to SGA, and which adds extra funds to the SGA, which they could propose. The club and organization could propose again the same amount, but just saying that not all clubs and organizations use all the money they ask for.
Hi, this question's for Jefferson. The last question that she asked I thought was very good, and I was just wondering in more detail, because I don't feel like you answered her question properly, how exactly do you plan to represent the entire student body and lead SGA, given your lack of experience? I feel like being a senator freshman year compared to now, I have also been involved in SGA throughout my entire collegiate career too, and I feel like a lot has changed in that time, and every candidate up here has given details of their own personal touch that they'll be adding to the organization. So what exactly are you personally bringing to SGA?
Well, I'll start off with the fact that you just mentioned the candidates have been giving details because they are in SGA, correct? Yet no changes have been made. Additionally, what I will say is that I do plan on meeting with every single organization that this campus has personally and seeing what their opinion is, and not only them, but those students who are as well not in student organizations.
I will also like to say that not only have I been involved in student government for 3 years, and I have worked up the ranks, so I've been a senator, and then I was appointed vice president of communications, where I killed it in that role, and then I'm currently the executive vice president. But my involvement in student government and my commitment to improving our campus life is not contingent on being SGA president. I'm involved in various different departments and clubs and organizations on our campus where I've been active and proactive in these positions. My leadership skills is not contingent on being SGA president, or is not contingent on student government. And if I'm not elected, I hope I am, but if I am not, I will not stop anything that I'm doing. I think that being a true leader is knowing when to step down, knowing when to hand over the baton to someone else, knowing when to share the stage, and I am all for that. I think that, like I've said continuously, change starts at the end of our comfort zone, and I think it's time for us to start getting uncomfortable. I think that we need to collectively decide that we want a change on our campus and we want to be proactive about that change. So my leadership and being SGA president, that will not be the end of my journey here at being a leader at Hartwick, and that's a testament to my various leadership positions.
Does anyone else have any other questions for the candidates?
Hey, I'm just curious, how do you guys plan to get more involved with the students on campus? Because as of right now, like, I'm one of the people that I don't really know what SGA does, and to be honest, I haven't really heard of anybody on SGA, and I haven't heard of any progressions over this past 2 years I've been here. So if you guys could answer that, that'd be fantastic. I'd say presidents and executive vice presidents.
Could you rephrase your question? Could you ask your question again?
Yeah. It's just, how do you how do you see yourself getting more involved? Or how do you see your students, like how do you get more involved with the students, sorry?
How do we see ourselves becoming more involved with the student body?
Yeah.
In our position?
Yes.
I just wanted to understand your question. Being in all of my leadership positions, I think that I'm a person who, I feel like I'm very approachable. I'm also very personable. I think that's like a personal opinion. But I have gone to groups where I think that they might not know who I am. I also think that I have been in student government long enough to know that if someone wants a question answered, if someone wants to be involved, they will be proactive in being involved. They will take that initiative. And I'm a big fan of meeting someone halfway. So if students want to know who I am, I'm always accessible. I'm around campus. I'm pretty much everywhere. And I will make myself accessible to all students and be representative, because I believe that the SGA president should be representative of all students and reflect the values of the student body, which I think that I do.
So speaking on what I said earlier, just, going around campus and hearing individuals talk about them not knowing what SGA is, who's involved, and that they'd like to have more of a say of the events on campus, this is the kind of stuff that leads to media sources like Yik Yak being exposed to hate about certain events and, just hate about the Student Government Association. And thinking about this, I thought of various ideas such as bonfires, food truck events, more alumni speakers, comedy events, outdoor movies, and campus scavenger hunts. Just more expanding on the events that have already taken place and taking them one step even further. When people don't know what our student government of our college is, that means that this campus is not actively involved and it's not a healthy environment for more positivity to be spread. And that's all I'd say. Thank you.
I feel like I also want to touch on the fact that it is true. Like, a lot of people don't know what SGA does, and Sarah did allude to the fact about it earlier about the buses. Like, we do see that, and I feel like one of the most important parts is really like just getting our name out there, really putting what SGA pays for, the things that we do, making sure like our name's on it. I feel like that's a great tool too, making sure people know what we do pay for, that we pay for Hartlink, that we pay for the buses, that we pay for a lot of the different things, some of the food that you guys eat too. Like, just things like that, I feel like putting our names on it, getting things out there. And I also want to touch on the fact that, like, SGA does do a lot of different things on campus, and so we have a lot of different reach and different groups. So I feel like one of the things that I would want to implement as executive vice president is something where we could have representatives of different groups of students on our campus, like SAC, like HCASN, like NAFME for the music department. Having them be a voice that's very prevalent in SGA and making it kind of like an associative board type of vibe, where we would meet with you guys, bring up concerns that you guys got going on, things that you guys are worried about that you might not make it to an SGA meeting to talk about, and we could meet with you guys individually and really get to the nitty-gritty of what you guys need help with, so that we could better facilitate those groups on campus, and all groups on campus, to be honest. And I also feel like that's a great way to tie in our VP of Belonging as well. That position was made so that all students can feel like they belong. So I feel like implementing that and making sure that all students feel heard on this campus through associative groups, through our VP of Belonging, through our meetings, is a great way for us to hear all the students' voices.
To touch upon that question, what I believe that could be done is the most foundational step and what should have been done, which is giving the students an opinion in general and letting them take an opinion on what events go on and what is happening around campus in general, what we're doing with certain spaces. And so I really, truly believe that it is important that our students, all of them, no matter the organization, and if they're not in one, that they are all included in what is going on around campus.
How my secretary is doing, the candidates. I have a question for you guys. So expanding off of the previous discussion, how do you guys see your role as communicating maybe the roles of SGA and the accomplishments of SGA and the shortfalls of SGA to the student body, like meeting minutes or beyond meeting minutes? Like how do you have any plans for like how to communicate that to the broader like student body?
So as the current VP of Communications, it's actually a combined role of Communications and Secretary right now because we are undergoing the change of our e-board. So I'm technically taking on dual role of handling all the social media work as well as the secretarial duties, including the emails and the minutes. Now, for the minutes, the one thing that's really important about the minutes is everything is included in the SGA Senate meeting minutes. And if you're not reading them, that's probably why you do not know what SGA does. They include stuff about events, opportunities, and everything on campus you could imagine, including information about what we give money to, what we do for the community and for the campus. So it's really important that regardless if you know what SGA is or you don't, that you're reading these meeting minutes because they give you a lot of information on what's going around on campus. Now for a way that, the meeting minutes aren't very long. I will say I type them every week. They're not very hard to digest, but a way that I'm looking to kind of make information more accessible and digestible is looking at like a weekly newsletter or a monthly newsletter where, information is maybe put in like pictures instead of little paragraphs because I know we're all reading enough between all of our classes. So making it a way where information is more digestible for those that are looking to know and those that need to know because everyone on campus should know what SGA is. Thank you.
Yeah, so expanding onto the meeting minutes, we also have an Instagram account, so you can find information on our social media. And like I said, some initiatives that I would put out are like monthly updates on all the current events, as well as a shared Google Drive folder so that the entire student body can reflect back on the records and see past records and all the meeting minutes and agendas.
Who's that question for? To me? Okay. Could you repeat the question? How do I make people care? I think that as of right now, the culture that we have at Hartwick, I can't make anyone care. I can show you why you should care. I can show you that there are initiatives that you can participate in on campus. You can start your own club if you so choose. You said that you haven't been a part of a club. You can start your own club. I think that I will be proactive in ensuring that students feel comfortable to start the change. I can't make students care, but I can show you why you should care. I can show you why these initiatives on campus that are available, because there are many initiatives on campus that are available, why you should participate in them. I think that if students want to be active and if students want to participate, there are resources, there is accessibility to participating in these things. I can encourage you, I can motivate you, I can show you why these things are important, but I can't hold students' hand and force them to care.
Yeah, there's no way in which you could force a student to truly care, but what you can change is the communication aspect to it. So meeting minutes seem to be great, but I do believe that something that would be great and make it more enticing and appealing to SGA would be to start back up our Hartwick newsletters, which seems to be a more visual, appealing approach to letting the students know what occurs on our campus and what SGA is doing.
I think those were very good answers by the president candidates. I think too much of the focus is being spent on, SGA meeting minutes, which that is an important factor involved with it. But to really spark interest, you have to make your face, your identity widely known around this campus. So actively engaging with these clubs, attending their events, making sure they know that you have their full support is what will change these attitudes towards certain topics.
I feel
like talking about making students care. I feel like there are students on this campus that do care about the things that go on. They, like you were alluding to the events, going to these events, and you find out that these events are the SGA emails. So going through off of that as well, I also feel like creating a space where students feel like they can come to you, so that they feel like they're being heard, making sure that they feel like their concerns are being brought up and done to action, is a way that students be like, oh, SGA does care about my well-being. They do want me to succeed here at Hartwick. And I feel like in the efforts of making people care, it's about also creating a space where they feel like they will be able to express themselves and be able to just bring things up that we can take care of.
Okay, hi. I'm Sarah. Basically, I work with a lot of freshmen, and I think a lot of freshmen are just not aware of what SGA is or what SGA does. And I think just something to improve this is to understand what it really does. If you want to get involved in SGA, you don't only have to be a part of a club or organization on campus. SGA handles lots of different concerns and basically handles the student body. Like lots of my residents, they complain to me, Sarah, I hate all the food and comms. And I'm like, you know who you should talk to? You should talk to Maria, who is the chair committee of dining, and they talk to, I don't know his name, but he runs Commons and all the food places on campus. And that's how students get involved through SGA that way. Or sometimes the complaint, Sarah, I'm walking to the townhouses and I can't see anything because the light is broken. And I'm like, do you know who you should talk to? Maybe you should talk to Orem, which is one of the co-chairs of the safety committee on campus. And this person talks to Donald Dupass and the head of facilities, and they make sure that campus is safe for students. You don't have to get involved in SGA by just participating in a club. All you need to do is be a student. If you complain about anything ever, I promise you, if you talk to SGA about it, there will be some sort of solutions. Sometimes students complain about the busing system. Maybe it runs too early or too late. Believe it or not, SGA handles that. So every student has access to this information. It's all public. It's about, do students want to search for, or do they even care to search for? If you have access to Google and you're a student here, you're already a part of SGA.
Is this a general question, or is this towards a general question?
Chuck, can you ask the question in the microphone?
So essentially, you said the parking issues, lights don't work, the food on comms is terrible every year. So those are the 3 points? Yeah, 3 years, the parking issues. And then this is a general question for everyone, or just, okay.
We live on campus. Sometimes things are broken, and sometimes things continue to be broken. I think as a part of SGA, if I am a part of SGA next year, if you don't know, each member of SGA has to be a head of a committee. Right now, I am a co-head of the safety committee with Orem over there. So basically, the way we fix the solutions is firstly, you have to come to the meetings, you have to send us an email, you have to DM us on Instagram. We're just students. I only live in Wilder, but maybe you're having an issue in Oyarin or Hilltop or townhouses, and I'm not aware of this issue. You have to let the issue be known. That's the first step. Secondly, after you let the issue be known, you and I can both work together on creating active, proactive solutions. I am Sarah, I'm very innovative, but sometimes I don't see the problem from your point of view, and I don't see the solutions you want. So if you let me know of what solutions we are working towards, you and I can both create steps together to help you come to that solution. And lastly, as a member of SGA board, you work with a lot of administrative and pro staff workers. You get to work with the president often. You get to work with a bunch of vice presidents. If we have this issue be known and we have enough people who are complaining about it, and we make active steps to continue to solve the problem, it will be solved. For instance, I don't know if you walk from Jaeger all the way down to Lower Jaeger, People were falling down those stairs. And then when me and Orem did a safety walk, after we heard complaints from students, hey, I keep falling down these stairs because there's no light, I can't see the last step, and then me and Orem almost fell down those stairs because we couldn't see the last step, we immediately went to down to Dupas, scheduled a safety meeting, see how proactive that was, and we solved the issue. And within a month, there was lights within that place. Or I was complaining to Maria. I was like, Maria, I want my smoothies Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then now she's having a meeting with the head of dining to make sure that we can have these smoothies or we can understand why certain things aren't happening. So you have to come up with the problem and then we will take active steps to solve it.
So, I'm gonna go back to your first question and then I'm gonna go back to that question. So just a little activity, you don't have to participate, but if I ask everyone in this room to tell me the name of the director of facilities, who can do that? That's the problem. I think that, his name is Gregory Rogers, by the way. SGA can only do so much, and if we don't know about an issue, we cannot solve it. And Chuck, like you've mentioned, you've voiced certain issues to us. We're having Gregory come to SGA on the 24th, April 24th. He will be at that meeting. We've listened to your concerns. I'm not sure if students understand that there's only so much SGA can do. We cannot make facilities do anything. We can continuously submit requests for things to be done, which we have done and we will continue to do. It is up to facilities then to be proactive and to do that. We can start by saying if enough students are voicing these concerns and are bringing it to SGA, so we have a solid list of names of all of the complaints that we have received and bringing it to facilities and saying, hey, all these 100 students are upset about the very same thing that is not being fixed. We need to fix it. I'm pretty sure if we apply pressure, then things will start shaking. I think that students aren't bringing these concerns. You're sitting in these concerns and not bringing them to student government, and we can't fix what we don't know. So the moment you start doing that, like I said, we have Gregory coming on the 24th. So if anybody has anything that they want to bring up to Gregory, he will be at the April 24th meeting.
Just in response to Chuck's question, I completely understand your frustration with bringing stuff up and nothing being done about it, because that's the same frustration that we as an e-board face. Because I think a lot of people don't realize that SGA is a liaison between the students and the administration. We are not the administration. Therefore, we cannot go around slinging ideas and doing exactly what we want to do the very second we want to do it. And I can't go up to Jim Mullen and say we need to do this the second and he's going to do it, because I have power, but I don't have that power, and it also has to do with money. And SGA does have a specific budget, and completely redoing parking across campus is not something that's possible within our yearly budget. But we are making the steps to reach out to the people we need to reach out to, and we're going to continue to keep doing that. Thank you.
And just adding on, it takes a lot of time to do these projects, so I feel like just voicing out your complaints and like saying that nothing is being done when we are doing things is just, you know.
So, you guys, obviously SGA has to deal with a lot around campus, but the fact that you guys are stating that students aren't explaining these issues to you guys, I think as a top priority of the Student Government Association, on a weekly basis, maybe every 2-week basis, I think the people in leadership roles should be actively reaching out to these departments, actively trying to reach out to individuals, checking up if anything has stopped working, if anything needs to be fixed. You know, everything doesn't rely on the students. You know, you have to take accountability and reach out to these departments in order to get certain things fixed and stop allocating funds to stuff that doesn't need it as much.
I do understand that there's a lot of facility issues. A lot of that stuff does come up. But I also want to preface that we have now gone under new leadership for facilities. Gregory is new. He just got here. So right now there's going to be a little bit of time between the facilities issues because he will need to figure out how to do the whole facilities thing. And we do have a lot of facilities issues, so he's probably going to have a list of things that he has to look at. I also want to kind of go under the idea of that SGA does hear your concerns. We do talk about it as an e-board, and we do meet weekly, and then things that you guys bring up on Thursdays, we usually email them almost immediately, and we let them know, hey, by the way, this was brought up at a meeting. Can you see what you guys can do about this? They'll say, we'll look into it, or whatever they respond with. And so it's that when you guys do voice these concerns, we do reach out to the people that the concern goes under. Like specifically for, I believe, Ja, you brought it up about the financials, about students being concerned about where they could find their W-9s, was it? Something like that. And yeah, so we immediately had a meeting with them. We said, hey, can you guys come to SGA? There's students who are concerned. They came to SGA and they brought up those concerns. So we tried to really take what you guys say and immediately tried to reach out to people that is in charge of the things that those things go under. I feel like we're very proactive in that sense as well, but then at the same thing Amelia said, it's then on the administration side for them to do something about that. And if you apply enough pressure, things do get done, but this does work in a way that we bring things up to administration and then it's in their hands. They have to take it from there as well. So I feel like that's also important to understand as well.
Can we talk twice?
Well, Gregory being new and just getting here is probably the reason you guys don't know his name. And second of all, what I did want to say is that I would make that my top priority. The comfort of the residential buildings is essential. It's where you start your day and where you finish your day. And so the pressure that I would apply to facilities would be consistent.
I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know. While we do see the concerns and we do see yik-yak comments, unless they're directly being brought to us as an e-board, as student government, I don't think that those concerns, because like people always are just talking on yik-yak. I personally don't have yik-yak. I think that it's a space where negativity is rude, and I think that creates echo chambers of negativity and people just going on yik-yak just to talk about certain issues. I do think we have in the past, if there is a consistent complaint or consistent comments that are being brought to our attention by students from yik-yak, we have as an e-board decided to talk about those issues. But when it comes to scanning yik-yak comments for issues, that is not something that is a priority.
I think that plays a major part from an initiative standpoint of the Student Government Association. You know, just speaking on my own experience along with Jeff, this past week was, campaigning. And the app Yik Yak has grown a lot in the past year. You know, there's a lot more people actively involved with that app. And throughout this past week, I was even looking at it, checking out what people were saying. And me and Jeff came to the conclusion that we were having false accusations spread against us, which led to our poster being ripped down outside of comms. So as a Student Government Association, I think it plays a huge part to have initiative, look at apps like that, see if there's any negativity going on, in which you can attend to that negativity and prevent future negative impacts like that from happening, because that was not acceptable.
I do want to touch on the yik-yak concern. In the past, through other elections, we have had to look at the yik-yak comments, and we have released statements saying that this behavior is unacceptable, things of that nature. And we have looked at it. I personally have yik-yak, and I've seen the concerns that have been brought up. And I believe we did actually send out a form on yik-yak to see if people had concerns. And every single concern that we saw, we addressed at our SGA meeting. I believe 4 weeks ago, I believe, something like that. And we addressed every concern that was submitted through that form via Yik Yak. And so I do see that Yik Yak is very prevalent on our campus. It is what people use to express themselves anonymously. And I believe that through Yik Yak, a lot of negativity can be spread as well about SGA is on Yik Yak. Everybody loves to talk about SGA on Yik Yak. And I feel like we can use that sometimes and listen to the concerns, the complaints that students have. But at the same time, like Amelia was saying, if there's enough pressure on it, then we will see it. But at the same time, a lot of people say a lot of things on Yik Yak. So it's about filtering out kind of the main concerns that people bring up that we can address in that moment.
Jefferson, do you have something to say?
If you don't mind, could you list those issues and how you specifically address them?
I could pull it up right now. I have the Google Doc of it, so just give me one.
I believe one of the issues was actually the stair that was, I want to say, the lower Jaeger stair that the thing was like broken a little bit. We immediately brought that up to facilities and we told them about that. I believe that was one of the concerns. James, if you have the list, I believe we went through it. Table Rock fries, that there's no fries in the Table Rock fries. We brought that up to them and they recently put up, well, I got more fries the other day, so I believe that concern was addressed. James, do you have the list?
Yeah, I have the list. So it goes from more parking spots, bringing back peanut butter and Nutella and cake mix and frosting, to stairs from Van Ness to Johnstone, to adding adding more faculty members to smaller programs, advertising more than just nursing, elevators in dorm rooms that don't have them, which I could tell you right now that's never going to be possible because they're existing buildings. They're just going to have to demolish those existing buildings and add elevators. So I'm telling you right now that's never going to happen, unfortunately. More study spaces, have like secondary lighting, more variety of seats, outlets, just make the study spaces more comfortable. More meal swipes, which I assume you, from the student body, they want more Table Rock meal swipes, so you could like swipe more. I'm assuming that it wasn't like really broad. It just, they only said meal swipes. JC opened later, which there was a comment that at one point they were open later, but it's the fact that not a lot of students come to those later times, so they can't cover those hours. So they cut down to 2 hours. It used to be open till 7, but due to like labor issues, that's why they're, and materials as well, that's why they're closed at 5. Free coffee available during finals, which that's actually being effective. There's gonna be a make your own coffee during finals that you could do. And then just like inflation with like salad, 50-cent sauces, offering more fruits, more healthy options, and making things more healthier. So that's everything I've seen from Yik Yak and made like a poll for it.
So checking Yik Yak and seeing the issues surrounding Table Rock, I can assure you that also leads to various people seeing that the issues surrounding comms on Yik Yak as well. And just going back to Chuck's statement, who is a current senator, who has brought up issues about commons food, and for the past, as long as he's been in there, and he still says that he has seen no changes. And I can assure you that witnessing Yik Yak and seeing that there's issues with Table Rock proportions, you can also see that there's issues with commons food, which should be a top priority for all our students.
Okay, so there's been a lot of talk about Yik Yak, and you guys have said about how negative it is, and you don't like it, whatever. But then you're also promoting it, basically saying that stuff is getting done because people are complaining on Yik Yak. So, like, is there a better way for people to complain and express their opinions? And also, I feel as if I've been here 4 years as my senior. I'm hearing the same things that Chuck's been saying. Like, I've heard that over and over again. There has been no fix. Yeah, you guys aren't administration, but when you talk to administration, like, are we going to get any more feedback about that? And is there any way more that we can help, like, as students? Like, is there a way that we can come together and try and get more people on? And And I get, yeah, I don't come to a lot of this stuff, but I also don't hear a lot about it unless I talk to someone who's in SGA, and I have a lot of stuff I'm doing. But I'm just saying, like, I like how a lot of talk's been about how we want students to know more, and we want people to try and have more effort. But I've also been hearing, like, if you want a problem, you have to come to SGA and fix it. But, like, on Yik Yak, you also listen to it. So it's kind of like, it's double-edged sword where I don't really know what to think. But, yeah, back to my original question, is there going to be a better way to reach out about that? And then, are you going to reach out and tell us about how administration is doing it and how we can help?
I think you really bring up a really great point. And one thing that's really hard about being a part of SGA is we do bring up the issues that students bring to us, and we address administration directly. We meet with the president and all of the provosts once a month, as well as the board of trustees twice a semester, and discuss issues like these. But of course, we can't make action immediate, and I completely agree that transparency needs to be had during those times. Even when we're in the process of talking through things, that should be communicated with the students, and they should know that, hey, we're working towards this, but it's not something that's plausible right this second. So I completely agree with you saying that you require more transparency, because that's something I want to instill in the secretary position, and make sure that we are making the behind-the-scenes conversations still available to all those on campus.
I also think, to answer that question, I don't think any e-board member has said that we use Yik Yak as a way to like get student concerns. Obviously, if student concerns are on Yik Yak, we'll take those concerns that are off of Yik Yak, but I think a better way to do that is talk to the people in SGA, or email is very accessible. We send emails every day. Email your questions that you have or complaints that you have to the SGA email. I also think that it's important to know that once we bring concerns to facilities or certain departments on campus, it is up to them to then be active in that. So what students can do, and what I've encouraged students to do, and what I do personally, is go to these people, go to their offices, knock on their doors, have a conversation with them. I think they're more likely to be proactive and to actually care about student concerns if they're coming from the students. Yes, student government can bring these concerns to them, but if we're bringing 100 concerns to them every single week, things get lost in translation. Go to these people, tell them exactly what you want to be changed. Have conversations with them. I think the president will welcome anyone in his office at any point in time. Go have a conversation with him. I feel like he's a very personable guy. Like, go to these people, go up to the staff and comms and be like, hey, I had this problem, could this be fixed? And I'm sure that they'll listen to those concerns. I 100% agree with that. I think that mobilization of the student body is our biggest chance of achieving anything. I love a good protest. I'm the biggest activist, I think, on our campus. I've staged many protests on our campus. I think that if we band together as students, if we come together, if you put up a petition, if you sign petitions, if you bring petitions to student government, we can actively like start those conversations. I think that what we're constantly waiting for is someone else to do it. I think that if we want change to happen, if we want things to be done, be the person who does it. Jonah, I feel like you're a very passionate guy. Like, start a petition. I feel like people will listen to you if you say like, hey, like, can I get 100 signatures to sign this petition? So I think we need to start using our influence, using our voice to be proactive in these initiatives.
So going off of that, I know you say that you agree with Jonah and you want this and want that. I just don't understand why it has to come to a student explaining these kind of implementations that can occur without this current Student Government Association already thinking of those ideas and trying to create more positive improvements for the future.
So clearly these meetings once a month are just not effective whatsoever, and so I would just push to have more meetings so that things could get actually done. What I would encourage the students is that they come to me rather than these people's office, because clearly that's not working either, and I wouldn't want you to go out of your way to advocate for something that's typically a norm in other colleges.
Hi everyone. So as an RA, I have to do a lot of crisis management, and I hear a lot of complaints from students. Mainly, they're freshmen, so they don't really know what's going on, so it's a lot of explaining how this stuff works. And I know that we have lots of complaints. I've been complaining since freshman year, but you have to realize that things are slowly happening. Firstly, this is an organization, so when we complain to like administration has to talk to a million other peoples, a million other things have to get approved, and then we also have to understand the things that takes for it to get approved. Firstly, you have to tell us the problem. After you tell us the problem, we tell them the problem. After we tell them the problem, they have 10 meetings. Then they talk about the money. Then they talk about a bunch of other things. So obviously these things are gonna take time. It takes resources, it takes capital, it takes labor to fix these problems. Secondly, I do agree with what both Amelia and Jonas said about having values and numbers. I've lived in Wilder for the past 2 years, and on the 3rd floor of Wilder, the water fountain did not work. And it's because the RA by themselves were just completing one work order at a time. But once I became the RA on that floor, I had me and a bunch of my residents and my RA friends submit a bunch of work orders. And then the water fountain ended up working within 2 weeks. So I think if we all collectively band together and then like have a bunch of complaints, we put pressure onto these individuals, it will most likely be able to happen. But also we have to recognize the amount of time and resources it takes for these things to happen. And you have to recognize that like we're also students too, like we're as mad as you are. We have to deal with these individuals just as much as you do as well.
I just wanted to add to that. I do like the protocol of a step-by-step that she just gave. And so if it's such a long process, then maybe the idea that certain things that are major issues should be getting done over the summer when students aren't here.
I also like to add that, Chelsea, I'll get you in a second. I've seen your hand. I'd also like to add that there's only so much us as students can do. And I feel like a lot of these conversations about facilities and everything that's been happening on campus and Airmark and professional staff, that's their job. They're getting paid to do that. If we don't hold them accountable, if you, the students who are paying tuition to these people so that they can get paid, don't hold them accountable for the offices that they serve, and you don't hold them accountable for when you're voicing concerns that nothing happens, then nothing will happen. As your student government, there's only so much we can do. Like multiple people have said, like we have brought these issues to them. We have voiced these concerns on multiple occasions. I cannot tell you how many times I've been frustrated by our administration because I've voiced many concerns to them that directly impact the students, but there's only so much one person or 7 students can do. But if 100, 200 students band together and actually show that their tuition dollars are paying for these people to do their jobs and apply pressure on them to actually do their jobs, something will happen. If we're constantly just like letting things just happen and be like, oh, like I brought this concern and like nobody did anything and I'm just gonna like let it go because 100 people and like nothing happened, nothing will ever happen. We have to be proactive, and that's what I think our campus is lacking, is proactiveness, is mobilization, is realizing that we cannot do anything if we're divided. And I realize that we're constantly being divided on certain issues. We need to band together and actually be proactive in the change that we want to see. Chelsea had, I'm sorry, Chelsea, there's something she would say forever.
Yeah, I just wanted to cite an example of what everyone here has been talking about, the power in the masses. If you don't know, we offer like summer housing. And for the past, I don't know how long, for I think past 2 years, I've lived here during the summer, and it's been in Light. So this year it was moved to Van Ness. We had students who signed, I think it was about 90 students who signed a petition. We went to SLT. SLT is Student Leadership Team, where we meet with the president, provost, and those apparatus and administration. We brought the petition to them. We showed them that the students signed the petition, and then we were working together to figure out how to find a solution for the students. Because Lysol is a very good place because it has the AC. In the summer, it gets hot, so we spoke to them. They're going to provide funds because Lysol is going to be used for a conference, so we can't use Lysol for the summer housing. But I'm just citing this as an example that we have power in the masses, and then when we come together to do something, it gets achieved. So, yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
That sounds great that a petition is what it takes, but I do believe that the employer of these employees are the people that should be holding them accountable rather than having to sign a piece of paper from all the students to hold these employees accountable. I mean, the traditional way in which you hold an employee accountable is through the employer who is paying them.
I really don't understand your response to that, because if students aren't bringing their complaints to these faculty, how exactly are they supposed to hold anybody accountable? Like, do you genuinely understand a single thing about how things work on this campus and how people need to communicate with each other in order for things to happen? Because that response just makes no sense.
Yeah, I do, and from what I've gathered, it seems to be unorganized and corrupt right now.
Chelsea came up here and she literally just said that students banded together and made a petition about a decision they weren't happy with, and then a change was made. There was no initial plans from housing to put air conditioning in Van Ness until students made that petition, which actually reached over 100 signatures, and now they're doing air conditioning in the rooms and in the common rooms. And so it's like, what are you trying to achieve with that response? I don't get it.
Which I said worked great, but are you able to cite another petition as well?
Have you been here for the debate at all, where mobilization of the student body has been brought up on multiple times again and again? This is an example of students finally being able to band together and mobilize, and instead of saying this is a good thing, we should try and capitalize on this, you're criticizing it for not being enough?
The traditional way to hold an employee accountable is through the employer. When you go get a job, if you're doing something incorrect, your employer will hold you accountable.
So are you saying that you do not value the student voices?
I do value the student voices.
All right, we appreciate the advocacy, but let's do it through a formal way. Yes.
I'll just like to say, I appreciate the passion, but as a blanket statement, this debate is for the presidency of every candidate up here, and I don't think that while these issues are important, and while we should be talking about these issues, I think that we have lost the plot a little bit. So if we could bring it back. But Mira, to address your question and to address your point, Jefferson, back to my point that I was trying to make was the employer of the employers are the students. We're the ones paying these people. Without our tuition dollars, they won't have a job. So if you actually want to be a part of the change, put your money where your mouth is. You're paying tuition to go here. If you don't pay tuition, these people won't have jobs. This place will crumble without your tuition dollars. Use that. Use the leverage that you have over these people, which is your tuition dollars that you're being paid to go here. If you want something to be fixed, you have leverage over that because you're paying for it. So they should fix it. Hold them accountable. Band together. That goes all the way back to banding together and holding these people accountable.
would just like to clarify that for smaller problems and for problems that we do see reoccurring, we do actually do stuff about it. Like I said, the stair thing, we didn't need 50,000 people to come together and like fix the stair problem with Jaeger. We didn't need 50,000 people to come together and fix the lighting problems. When we see that a problem has been reoccurring and we have filed multiple complaints on this problem and we realize that we actually need the numbers, then for those types of problems, we will actually encourage the student body to go and advocate for themselves, to use the personal voices. Like Amelia was saying, these people don't have jobs without y'all. Like, you guys pay their paychecks. So sometimes we do need the extra numbers to make sure these things are happening, or that we're just applying pressure to the people who are getting paid to do these things. But there has been multiple problems that have been solved without like a whole banding of people together coming together for this. There has been numerous. Like firstly, freshman year, I was just a senator, but I was complaining that the dishes were dirty. And then I went and I talked to SGA. Hey guys, my dishes are dirty. I don't feel like eating at comps because the dishes were dirty. And then within the next week, they had the head of dining come into the Senate meetings, talk to us, and then we had a problem and we had a solution to that problem. So I'm not saying that every single problem demands a student body population to come together and solve it. But there are certain problems that do just simply need more numbers, more complaints, more people knocking on their doors. Sometimes we have to realize that the faculty working here actually go home. Like, they do not live here. When we say it's a big deal that we cannot eat because the dishes are dirty, they don't actually understand that because they're not in these spaces. They don't actually understand what it means to be a student here. So when we come up and say these reoccurring issues, it helps them put it in our perspective of what it's like to be a student here. And I think that's the beauty of SGA. Being a student here makes the difference.
Hey, how you doing, guys? Good. So, I'm an active member of the community. My question is not to target anybody because that's how I'm not raised. I don't want to disrespect nobody. So my question is for everybody who can answer it. As an active member of the community, I know you guys mentioned something about the bus, like you guys want to like bring it more back to campus and things like that. And I would completely understand that you guys are low on money and you guys have other clubs that got to give money to it. But my question is like, not me personally, but I know other people that always ask me like, can I get a ride to Walmart? Can I get a ride to this? And personally, like, I have a life, I had a job, I had to do schoolwork, I got other things to do. So I'm just talking in general for everybody else that don't have a car. Like, how you guys gonna do, like, let's say, I know the bus comes like after 10 o'clock p.m. because like, everybody goes out, like, you guys wanna bring it back home safe. But my question is, like, in the morning, on the afternoon, sometimes, like, people ask me, like, can I go to Walmart, can I go to this? And I see the bus schedule, and I know it passed like once, like every 2 hours or something. Like, my question is, like, how can you guys bring the bus so it can come more constantly? I know, like, SUNY only until 12, but I totally don't get it because that's a public school, so they have more grants and other things to do. So my question is, like, how can you guys make sure the bus passes more constantly so other people that don't have a car can go places?
I was gonna say we
just
had an e-board meeting. Yeah.
Or do you want to?
You can talk about it.
I got it. Okay. SJ actually just renegotiated our bus contract. That was in the process of renegotiating to have the bus come more frequently. James, do you remember the days that the bus is going to be coming?
It was offered Saturdays, like having them in the afternoons, because I believe we tried to do like Sundays, but not a lot of students. We got like a data showing not a lot of like students would go to those Sundays, but we seen data that it could have been Saturdays. So it was proposed to have buses be available at the afternoon and the evening.
And we also added more days to when the buses are being run. So that is a problem that we have seen, and we've continuously seen that, but we could not make a right-away change to that because we were in a contract, and the bus contract does last for 2 years. So we couldn't make a change right then and there. But we have negotiated our bus contract, and we have been mindful that students do need the bus more regularly and do need the bus maybe later or earlier to be accessible to them. So we have renegotiated the contract to include that. Yeah, Hannah.
I also just want to point out that the bus, I think, is a very large issue for people across campus, especially because we house so many international students that don't have availability to a car. So I would really encourage you to come to a Senate meeting and talk about it. And I believe it was Senate meeting last week, we actually discussed the whole negotiation, and coming to SGA, you also kind of get like a little bit of insider knowledge on like how much our OPT contract costs, because it's not cheap, and knowing that information can help you to figure out exactly what we want to add to the things that we're discussing.
So basically, like, I'm a freshman. So basically, I'm a freshman here, right? So I first want to know, like, for the candidates, right? Could the presidential candidate, right? The presidential candidates, the executive vice president candidates, and your VP of finance, right? Could you guys clearly define your roles in SGA, like, to make it like simple? And then on top of that, could you like basically explain like how are you like more qualified than your opposition? Because I want to like understand what you're gonna do for us as like freshmen and people who are gonna be here for the rest of our 3 years, and how you're gonna make our lives as students smoother and the transition be better.
The executive vice president position entails a lot of transparency and communication between all students of the student body, along with faculty members. And I mean, as discussed before, has been a lack of interest in SGA, not knowing who the people are involved are, not attending these meetings due to lack of interest. And moving forward, I plan on actively engaging myself with these clubs and organizations, making my face known, tabling efforts, posting flyers and various pictures around campus, and just creating that balance between the student government responsibilities and creating a healthier campus for students at the same time to get them actively engaged. Thank you.
I believe every president to be different. I think it's about the drive and initiative that you take, but essentially, I, as president, would like to oversee everything, but also be involved in everything on the executive board.
I think that so by definition, the role of student government president is to be the main liaison between students and the administration, is to work alongside with the executive board of student government to voice concerns to administration, and to facilitate meetings, to do like background work, stuff like that. That is what the definition of what the president position is. My role as president, I think that is important that I am a person who students feel as though they're connected to. Students feel as though when they speak to me, I will listen. Students feel as though I'm connected to various different parts of campus, and they can come to me with anything, and I can be a person who's not only a listening ear to those concerns, but I can also advocate, and I've historically been a very big advocate for a bunch of different voices on campus, and I will continue to do that.
Just to kind of go off, Gavin did get like an overview of what the executive vice president does, but also the executive vice president during the SGA meetings that we have on Thursdays kind of helps relay the conversation for how the meeting should go. It helps students kind of not talk to, it's like when they're up there and students bring up a concern, it's more like they're bringing it to SGA, and if it's like a differing opinion, it's kind of like they're talking through the executive vice president as well, making a facilitate more conversation, easy flow. I also feel like the executive vice president, as do, honestly, all executive board members, we listen to the students' concerns and we bring it up to administration. As VP of clubs, I would hear student concerns through the clubs and I would bring it up to administration. So I feel like in all of our positions, that is one thing that does stand true in all of that. And what sets me apart as the executive vice president is that through everything, like Amelia said, like advocating, I've advocated in multiple different organizations I've been in, the Latinos Unidos, Connected Through Christ, being a diversity, inclusion, belonging advocate. I feel like I have brought students' concerns that they've had, and I brought them up to administration. And through the different rooms that I'm in and through with SLTs, the BOTs, I feel like through those rooms, concerns have been brought up to them. And I feel as though I'm able to, if I become the executive vice president, expand my role from just being in charge of the clubs right now to expanding it to helping all students in the student body.
I like what you said, being involved with clubs and organizations. You know that you obviously you have people in there that you can relate to and that are your friends. But then we have senators such as Chuck stated earlier, where he brings up certain topics and changes that need to be made, and they get pushed off. So I mean, just being involved generally with everyone on campus, all clubs and organizations, all members, especially senators, need to be addressed in a proper manner.
So I can answer the first part, and then Sarah could answer like any part that I've missed. So it's based off of student census. We don't know an exact number on how many students will come to Hartwick. We could project a number how many students will come, and that's how we know how much SGA could divide, because it's not only just going to SGA, it's going to HCAB, it's going to SGA Senate, it's going to our SMR funds, and it's also going to clubs. If it's the idea of you as SGA or as Senate Finance that we should allocate more funds to the issues with like the stairs or like parking spaces, that would increase an issue with clubs and organizations wondering why their budget was cut again, because originally it was cut due to a debt that we have, but we're officially out of debt this semester and the following years. So to answer the first part, the budget is made by student census. We project a number on how many students will come, and that's when clubs and organizations submits a budget projection, we as finance committee overview those projections. We don't allocate the money they exactly want. We try to find a middle ground, and then once we find out how many we're spending for clubs, then we'll allocate funds everywhere else. So that's the first part of the question. Anything else that I missed?
So yeah, basically what James said, every student pays a certain amount to SGA out of their tuition. You multiply that by the number of students, that's our total budget. Our total budget gets distributed through different things. So he said NSL, we also pay for like SAC, we also pay for like the busing system, and then we also pay for like clubs and organizations budgets as well. But we also have to recognize that like the VP of Finance doesn't handle like all financial matters that happen on campus. Each individual department also gets like a separate budget as well. So SGA has a certain budget, but also like admissions has a whole different budget that like SGA doesn't touch as like at all. So if there's like any specific issue that do not follow under the jurisdiction of SGA, all we can do is hold complaints about them and hopefully be proactive to make sure things does get done. But if that's not part of like our budget or jurisdiction, we don't have the power to say, hey, use your budget to make sure this specific thing gets done over certain things that may have more priority, you know? I fully understand that, and I think that could, in theory, be a feasible solution. But what we don't understand is we only have so much money at our disposal. So if we have disposable income and students are like, hey, let's use this disposable income to pay for the certain things, I would not be against it. But if it's between, should we pay to get the Van Ness stairs or an extra parking lot on campus, or should we pay to have additional busing hours? What would students want? So sometimes, just like I learned in my econ class, life is full of like trade-offs. If we have disposable income, we would pay to have everything fixed. But unfortunately, we do have financial limitations. So since we have these financial limitations, we have to decide what is a priority and what is not. If we have 40K and we can choose to fix random problems on campus, or we can choose to make sure students have busing or available access to town and city stuff, or we can choose to make sure students have access to budgets for clubs. We just have to like ask the student body what they would prefer, and most likely it's for accessibility.
Chuck, I'm sorry, before you ask your next question, I just want to clarify a few things. So I know like we've been talking about like the budget and stuff, and to break that down to make that a little bit simpler and like easier to digest, and I'm gonna reiterate your question just so I know that I'm answering correctly. You're asking why can't SGA use SGA funds to fund the issues that are being brought up, like fixing the stairs or fixing like broken lights and stuff like that? That's your question, yeah? So SGA has, so when we get, like they've said, when we get our census and we get the allotted money that is in the direct title for it is the activities fee. Once that money gets sent to SGA based on however many students comes to Hartwick, that money is then put in the SGA budget. That budget already has an outline of reoccurring payments. That includes HeartLink, that includes the busing system, that includes the vans, the Senate vans, that includes something else that I'm probably forgetting. And then under that, that also has HCAB has a specific budget that they receive from us. SAC also has a large amount of SGA budget that they receive from us. Along with that, we also pay for OFES tickets. Along with that, we also give money. In previous years, because of the debt issues that SGA has had, we have not been using the SMR. And I know that you became a senator, so you don't like really know about that. So the SMR has been a thing in SGA. We haven't been able to use it because we've been in debt, paying back the debt. So it wasn't until this semester that we've had access to SMR funds. Now, I know it may seem that we've been approving, like we've approved 2, I think, SMR requests already. So it feels like SGA just has the money to give out, but there is a cap on the SMR limit that we have to account for. So at some point, we're gonna have to stop doing SMRs if 10, 15 different organizations and clubs come to us bringing these concerns. Now, I do understand if you as a senator put forth a motion, and this is why I think motions are very important in Senate, and why I always encourage you guys to put forth a motion when you have an important issue to bring up in Senate. If you put forth a motion, Senate votes on it. Senate can vote to approve or not approve whatever motion you bring up. And it's up to you as a senator to put forth motions and bring up these certain issues and advocate for the money that you want to be paid for. Along with that, we also have a emergency fund that SGA has. That emergency, a lot of different things come up during the semester, whether it's clubs overspent money, or we wrongly budgeted for something. For example, we bought 150 OFES tickets that are about to be distributed, but if all those 150 tickets get distributed and students want more OFES tickets, we have to tap into that money to pay for those tickets as well. So there's a lot of different like moving parts here, but I think to answer your question in a very simpler way that isn't like so robust, put forth motions. I think that that's the most important part here, and that's like understanding your role as a senator, is that you can do things like that, and once you put forth a motion, it's up to Senate to vote to approve or not approve that.
Yeah. I could say most likely, I believe Sarah would agree to this, but it could be a conversation with this current e-board or whatever next current e-board to actually have a special like funds for like student however we should label it as like student like expression or like student concerns, where we'll take those funds out based on what concerns that is, and it will just be voted by Senate on if we should motion to use that budget. So that could be a conversation with this current e-board and the next current b-board, and both of me and Sarah will try to make that happen.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The role, I'm sorry. The role of, I feel like we're missing the plot here again. I think what we need to understand is the role of student government is not to be the fixers of what's broken when it comes to institutional stuff. We are the advocating body for the students. We advocate students' concerns. We foster diversity. We create a culture of inclusivity on campus. That is what student government does. Now, there are instances where students can bring concerns to us because those are things that are directly affecting you as a student. But when it comes to fixing stairs or doing parking laws or things like that, yes, we can bring those concerns up because you have brought those concerns to us, but it's not our responsibility, it's not our job, it's not the role of student government itself to put money into fixing the school. And like I've said before, if you are interested in fixing the school, talk to the administration, talk to facilities, talk to the people who are getting paid to do that job. I think that there is a misconception of what exactly student government does, and I think that comes from a misunderstanding of what student government is. I think what we can do here is understanding what student government is, and our role on campus is to be the advocating governing body of the students, to listen to students' concerns, to voice those concerns to administration, and to be advocates for student voices. We are not, our budget also, would you, not to like attack you or anything, but would you rather us take money from clubs, take money from programming that is fostering a culture that we want to be students to be active on campus and stuff like that, and put that money into fixing the school, when we can, however, hold the people in those positions accountable to fixing the school and having them put their money into fixing the school rather than taking money from the students? Because essentially what you're saying is taking money from students, from taking money from student programming and putting that into fixing the school. I think that that's not student government's priority, and I know that it's not students government's priority because I know what student government is because I've been in student government. And I think that that should be the focus shift here, is to figuring how we can be proactive and how we can use our voices to advocate for these things and not taking money from student programming. And while I do understand that you might think that programming like Wick Olympics and programming like Cultural Bash aren't necessarily important and aren't necessarily benefiting the students, but I think as a student here of color, I think that these events are very important on campus, and I know I speak for a lot of students on campus that when I'm in certain spaces, I don't feel comfortable. I feel comfortable in spaces where culture clubs are being celebrated and advocated for. I feel comfortable when we can have fun on campus and clubs and FSL or wherever can like go have fun and like we all can come together and do these things together. And I don't think that student government should take money from programming activities that's meant for students to fix the issues that's wrong with the school institutionally. That is not our role and that is not our job.
With it being 8 o'clock now and the event having gone for 2 hours now, I just want to give an opportunity for all the candidates to kind of give a short closing statement about themselves. I appreciate everybody coming out and all your interest, but I do want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to speak and get anything out that they've been holding in and not had an opportunity to say. So just quick closing statements for anybody that wants to speak.
Okay, I'm gonna close and address your question at the same time if Zach doesn't mind. So I apologize, Amelia, but I do sort of disagree with you in the aspect that you say that that's not student government's job, because I believe that any complaint or problem that a student like Chuck brings up is our job to deal with, regardless of, whether personally that's something we want to do. That we work as a body and we work for the student body, not for our own problems. So if I'm elected in my position, Chuck, I think you bring up a great point for having a specific part of the budget that's addressing facility or food concerns, because like we've seen in the past that it's not working us just contacting them. So I think something needs to be done. So I agree.
Yeah, I completely understand your concerns, and I think like a lot of what happens in SGA completely depends on the Senate. So if the Senate votes to have an additional funding, to maybe a rainy day funding, to fix these additional problems that students are experiencing, and they advocate that we as a student body prioritize this over this, I would be completely for this. But we have to realize that we represent the student body. So if the student body wants to prioritize Culture Bash over leaky pipes, then I am for that. But if the student wants to prioritize leaky pipes over Culture Bash, then I am for that. What I am for is the student body and what would better make their college experience, like what would better their college experience. So as long as the Senate brings up the concern and the Senate votes to have certain things be changed, I am for it.
I appreciate all the comments. I would like to close the audience now. I appreciate all the questions and everything, but I think we really should just have final comments from everybody at this
So for my closing statement, regardless on if I'm gonna be VP of Finance next year or I'm not going to be next year, I personally think whoever is VP of Finance, Sarah is the chair of VP of Finance. She does amazing work. She's amazing in every way. So whoever is VP of Finance is going to be in great hands. As for my closing statement, and Chuck, we could have a one-on-one talk about like possibly considering doing like a rainy day funds, as like Sarah mentioned, where we could try to conversate that. But whoever is VP of Finance, I know it's going to be in great hands.
Yeah, once again, I think whoever wins, they're gonna do a great job. Like right now, I work with James. He does an amazing job at what he does, and he listens to student concern, and I plan to do that in the future as well. But I will be including like more transparency so students actually understand where the money goes, what it's doing, and why we can't access certain things. I think it causes less frustration when students are just aware of how the system works. So I'll try to be more transparent and help students understand how the system works. But regardless of who wins, I know it's gonna be an amazing year.
So I completely agree with you. I think it should be, our fund should go not towards just fun, but also with the facilities. So I want to help represent the student body and help advocate for that.
I just want to thank everyone who came out tonight to give their opinions and their questions. I think we all learned a lot about campus and student government and what needs to be done here as a whole. And in my position, one thing that I am going to prioritize after hearing all the comments tonight is complete transparency with the whole student body, regardless of whether a decision is being made that second or things are behind the scenes or in progress. Everything will be visible to the student body so that there's a complete understanding across campus of what is going on. Thank you.
All right, just like she said, I would just like to thank everyone that stayed the entire time, offering their personal support for me and every other candidate up at this table right now. Chuck, you had some amazing questions. Everyone in the audience had amazing questions tonight. I really enjoyed being here. There was a lot of issues that were brought up, and I can assure you that if voted in as Executive Vice President, all of these issues that underlie my position as Executive Vice President will be taken care of, will be examined, and will be taken at top priority for positive changes to be made. Thank you.
I just want to thank everyone that came tonight, everyone that came and was able to maintain professionalism. I appreciate it a lot. What I will say is I hope you guys let me and Gavin advocate for you guys. It seems to be that we have a lot of issues and not enough initiatives being taken. I don't believe you have to know how to run a meeting to take initiative on issues around campus. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you to everyone again for coming and staying. I know it's been a long meeting and I know we discussed a lot, but your concerns are appreciated, and I will say that in my current position as I'm exiting this role, this meeting was very important because I know it was a debate, but it was also a student government meeting. So these concerns have been noted and they will be brought up at our next e-board meeting and will be discussed. I just want to say that my role on campus as a leader on campus is not contingent on the presidency, and I will continue to advocate for the things that I believe in and the things that I'm passionate for. And while I do hope that I am voted in as president, the change and the progress and the things that I've done here does not stop here. And thank you guys.
I just want to say that I think this was very informational. I feel like we've really heard a lot of different people's voices, and we've heard the concerns that you guys brought up. And I think that, as Amelia said, we will bring this to our e-board meeting next week, and we will talk about the things that you guys brought up, the things that you guys have concerns about. And as we are currently rebranding SGA to be more for the students, I think a lot of new ideas that were brought up could be something that could be implemented in the future. Future as in like next semester, we could start looking at different things that we could work towards. So I feel like if you vote me in as Executive Vice President, I feel like I will take the concerns that you guys have brought today and really put action behind it. We could really look into different ways that we can implement these things that you guys brought up today. So thank you so much.
All right, if that's everybody that wants to do a closing statement, thank you, everybody in the audience, for your opinions and for showing up. And I just want to note that voting opens on Hartwick tonight at 9 p.m., and I'll send out an email, the SGA email with a link to that voting. And that voting is open until April 16th at 5 p.m., so please vote. Thank you all for coming again. Thank you very much.